from South Africa.
Yay. I also start recording. So I think, Muriel, does the DJ have permission to start our music? Folks, it's happy hour. If you can turn on your DJ Akoto, turn on your video so we see you getting ready. It's Friday. Thank you, Awori.
Thank you. Amazing. Thank you, DJ Apolline. Yes, welcome everyone. Happy Friday. It's the last Friday of the month of April. We're so excited to be here. It's another exciting session of Leadership Happy Hour. I'm so excited to see, faces that I know and some new faces actually. I'm excited. Welcome new people. If you're here for the first time, it's an amazing session. We run that every last Friday of the month. So welcome. You're going to have so much fun. You're going to learn a lot. And also we have a link in our chat box. If you haven't joined the leadership tribe, you can just click on the link and then you will be able to be part of this amazing tribe of amazing leaders. So welcome. So I'm here with Taaka. My name is Muriel. First of all, my name is Muriel. If it's the first time you're seeing me, I'm the social media manager for Busara Africa. And I'm here with Taaka. Taaka is our CEO. And I'm here with, hi Taaka. I'm here with Apolline as well. Apolline is our COO. Hi Apolline. And I'm here with Lydia, our program manager. Hi Lydia. Amazing. So we're looking forward to an amazing session today. And Taaka, can I talk about the topic? Can I share the topic?
Yeah, let's get right into it. Even before you get into the topic though, Muriel, we're only seeing ourselves. People, we can't see you.
I know,
it's Friday and we can't see your relaxed faces. I'm seeing Marika, but other than that, I'm seeing our guests. So if you can, if you have not changed into your home clothes or you feel your hair is still okay, thank you, Judy. Thank you, Janet. Kachama. Thank you.
Nice.
You see, Rachel, you see, at least we're seeing our faces. Nice.
Oh, this
all
is
right.
Amazing. Beautiful.
So go ahead, Muriel.
Yes, indeed. So today we're talking about leading across generations, right? So leading one or more generations in a team, people who are older or younger than you. So how do you do that? And I understand today we have two amazing guests with us. This is exciting. So Taaka, would you introduce our guest?
Sure, for sure. I figured folks, you're so tired of hearing me speak. Why don't we bring in other experts to share their experience and lessons? So today we have two amazing guests. The first one is Sola Mahoney. Sola, can you wave? Maybe Apolline can spotlight him or something.
Yes.
And Sola is a former banker in what he calls active retirement. Some of you, when you retire, it's no longer active. You just go home and sleep, while some retire and work just as much as they were working before they officially retired. And that is Sola. He's passionate about making new ideas happen in Africa. But before retiring, he worked for several years with the Gambian government. He has 20 years experience in international banking, but he also has extensive board level experience and a deep understanding of corporate governance issues. So Sola currently serves as the chair of the governance committee of Help Age International, and he was formerly the board chair of Gigagas Nigeria, board chair at the Gambia Telecom Company, and formerly board chair of GT Bank in the Gambia. So he's joining us from Banjul. So Sola, thank you so much for making time to join us. And let me tell you the secret, The other thing about Sola that I might as well tell you all is Sola is my coach. So if you didn't realize that coaches have coaches, Sola is my coach and I really thank him for all the guidance and support he's been providing me over the years. So that is Sola, who's joining us today. And then our second guest, Apolline, you can spotlight him, is Robert Akoto Amoafo. So Robert is a certified trainer and human rights advocate with 10 years experience in Ghana and abroad. He's an expert in international human rights, communication and development, leadership and governance, gender and disability. He was the country director at Amnesty International Ghana from January 2018 to January 2021. And I am so excited to make an announcement. Robert is our new program associate at Busara, Africa. Woo, woo, woo. So we're so excited to have snagged him. I think if you remember in some of the previous sessions, I was saying we have a vacancy, we're looking for someone to join us. So Robert, we're so excited about you joining our team. So Muriel, that's the team we have today. And maybe maybe I'll just jump right into why we're having this conversation. I think what we're finding is that if you start to look at today's workplace, we're finding that many people are staying longer in the workplace and are still adding value in the workplace. I think I gave you the example of Sola in active retirement, and you can see as a board member of different organizations and institutions, he's still heavily involved in various organizations, but also people are joining the workplace very young. So in some institutions, you may have as many as 5 generations within the same organization. And just very quickly, I'm going to share my slide so you can have a feel. When we talk about these different generations, some of you may be wondering, Taaka, what are all these generations you're referring to? Can you all see my slide?
Almost.
Okay, it's coming up. Oops, it's back. Okay. So if you can see my slide, sometimes you've heard these different terms, Gen Z, millennials, Generation X. So just so that we're on the same page in terms of this conversation, this is what we're referring to. So the Generation Z are the babies, the ones who are from 10 to 25. The millennials, you can see, would be now 26 to 41. Gen X, that's me, woo-hoo-hoo, 42 to 57. Then you have the baby boomers, 58 to 76, and then the silent generation, 77 to 94. So that's the technical terminology. And a little bit later on this call, we're going to do a quick poll to see which generation are you all from, just so we can see the kind of diversity in the room. So the key thing, Muriel, that I wanted to open up with is really acknowledging that increasingly in our workplaces today, we have a wide range of ages. Now, if you are leading on this continent, this matters, because on this continent, age matters. Let's face it, age determines hierarchy, and we tend to be very hierarchical. So you can imagine you could easily have realities where you have a younger person managing an older person, or you might have an older person managing younger people with a huge gap and struggling to understand them. So this is why we thought, you know what, let's have a conversation about how you lead across generations, because we've always talked about the importance of creating inclusive workplaces and really learning what it is to be an inclusive leader. Yeah. So that's why we're having this conversation. So Muriel, if it's okay, I can turn right over to our guests and start to interrogate them about their experience and how they've done this. I'm actually going to start with Sola.
Okay.
So we can spotlight Sola. So Sola, let me start with you. If you don't mind sharing, what generation are you? And what would you say are some of the strengths of your generation? Keeping in mind that we don't really want to stereotype, but generally, what would you say are some of the strengths or whatever generation you tell us you are?
Yes, thanks, Taaka. Well, I am what they call the baby boomer generation. Although when I give that answer, I guess part of my answer as well, it really, I'm a bit nervous because baby boomer means certain things to certain people. And so when I think about my generation, I think about myself as being more than just a baby boomer. Because if I say baby boomer, you might think, well, baby boomer means a certain thing in the context of the West. And yet, I think the fact of how I have grown up and where I have grown up is much as well is as relevant. So I describe myself as a baby boomer, an African baby boomer, but one who also has what we might call the transatlantic life experience. So that's all that comes into who I am. So yeah, short answer is I'm a baby boomer, but I flavor that just to give you a little feel of what kind of a baby boomer I am.
And Sola, as a baby boomer, and recognizing all the nuances around that, because you're more than just a baby boomer. I think that's a key thing that's come. We're more than just our ages, huh? But what would you say are some of the strengths that your generation brings to the workplace?
In terms of our strengths, and again, perhaps we don't always recognize them as strengths, but I really feel that one of the strengths that we have, certainly in the African context, is that we have seen so many things. There's a certain strength that comes with age. It gives you a certain, I guess, maturity because you have seen many different issues. You've had to confront many different experiences. I think as an African baby boomer, I remember being part of the march past at independence. I remember being here for coup d'etats. I've voted in elections. I've been part of all sorts of things all the way to where we are now and everything in between. And I think that gives us a certain advantage. I think that's a strength to have that level of experience. And I also add that one of the advantages of being older, I find, is that I look back and I think of those days, my days of youthful exuberance, when I made so many mistakes because I thought that the world was as simple as I was looking at it then. And I think now, if I'd had the advantage of the experience that I've now had, if I'd had that back then, I would have made so many better decisions, and I would have been so much more effective as a leader. But that's what I put down as the advantages of being a baby boomer at this particular time.
I like that. And you see, we'll be coming back to that because so much of what we're saying is the key thing is identifying the strengths of each generation and then leveraging that. Huh? Okay, thank you, Sola. So Robert, if I may come to you in your youthful face, I'm now wondering. So Robert, if I may ask you, what generation are you? And what would you say are some of the strengths that your generation brings to the workplace?
Thank you, Taaka, and hello, everyone. I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to join the Busara team. And I'm so happy that I've had this opportunity to tell you about my experience. First, I am part of what we call the millennials. The all
these
famous
millennials.
Of course, I mean, we are so famous and we are used as a benchmark for a lot of things. So we are so excited about everything. We are also known as the digital natives. Of course, internet was invented in our time. So we are the holders of internet. So for me, I think that's where I come from, and taking off from where Sola mentioned, of course, there are strengths for us, and it is important that we leverage on that. First of all, for me, one of the key things that I know we have is the benefit of having somebody like Sola available, somebody like yourself before us who have had all the history and information that we can depend on. So the bank of knowledge that already exists, that has been created in whatever field that there is, that we can take advantage of, is a very big strength for us. Another one, of course, is the internet, invention of internet. Now we have internet, we can use it as we want, we can connect to people. Even conducting research is easier now, because I used to ask some baby boomers, how did they used to learn in university? Because then they have to go to the library with only 2 books for 500 people. And now we have it. So for me, these are the advantages that we have. Thank you.
Nice, nice. Thank you, Robert. So you see, we wanted to start on the positive note in terms of identifying what the advantages are and the strengths. But let's come back to part of the reality is that it's difficult. And this is why we're having the conversation. We recognize that as leaders leading across generation in cultures where age comes with a whole bunch of expectations, brings its own unique challenges. So again, maybe I'll come back to you, Sola. What have you found have been some of the challenges you found in terms of leading across and leading diverse folks from different ages?
Again, I start off with a bit of a, not even a disclaimer, but something with lots of caveats, because part of my answer is that it depends. And the challenges that I've experienced or even seen or witnessed have been driven by the context in which I have been operating. So perhaps the biggest overall challenge that I've faced is to figure out which intergenerational challenges are likely to crop up in which context. And let me try to unpack that a little bit. So if I look at most recently where I am, I sit on a board, as you mentioned, in London, which is HelpAge International, where I'm pretty much maybe I'm possibly one of the younger members of the board. And that comes with a different dynamic, a different set of challenges. And yet from there, sometimes we're dealing with staff who are far younger than we are. And just to say that in those two situations where I'm sitting pretty much on the same board, that the challenges are very different. And I would also say, just to underscore the importance of context, it's more than just the intergenerational gap. Very often there's this intersectionality with age and gender, culture, race, so that, for example, the way I might interact with a young woman of a different race in UK, on whose board I sit, will be very different from the way I might interact with an older man who is perhaps maybe of Robert's generation here in the Gambia. It's just so very different, and each one comes with its own sensitivities. And when I think about it, I also happen to be chairing the board of a young IT firm where the oldest member of staff is like 28 or whatever. And just the interaction that we have there and the way I deal with them is very different from how I deal with a situation in the same country where I am the chair of the board of a bank. So again, it sounds a little bit wishy-washy, sorry about that, but essentially I think the message is it really does depend, and it's very, yes, the generational gap divide is important, but what makes it even more complex is when there's this interplay with other parameters, with other issues of culture, race, gender, and so forth.
I love what you're bringing up, Sola. So it's almost as if, I mean, we've focused on age as the key thing, but I think broadly we've been talking about how can you become a more inclusive leader, and becoming an inclusive leader is recognizing that many of these identities are experienced in an intersectional way. So it's never just about my age. It could be about my age, my race, my gender, my socioeconomic background. So as we engage with the other, we are being mindful of how these different dynamics are affecting each other. And what I'm hearing from you, almost as a strategy you've used, is being almost agile in being able to say, all right, in this context, if I'm in London and it's this kind of person, then I may adjust. If I'm in the Gambia and it's this, if I'm in a different industry from an NGO to an IT firm, then so it's that agility to be able to adjust in the context and be sensitive to these issues around intersectionality.
Exactly.
Nice,
Yes.
thank you. And you have a compatriot who is really affirming a lot of what you're saying in the chat. Madeline is also your generation and affirming some of the strengths. Nice, nice.
Okay.
So Robert, how about you? What are some of the challenges you face? Because I'm sure as the country director at Amnesty, there were times where you were managing and supervising people who were older than you here in Ghana. And here in Ghana, age matters. Oh, it matters. So Robert, let's hear how you navigated that.
So thank you very much. Interestingly, I'm always made in the position form, I'm always the leader, but always the youngest. In most of the organizations I've worked, from human rights advocacy center down to the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, down to FHI 360, I'm always made the leader, but the youngest. That is always interesting. And for me, some of the challenges I used to face is always this initial sense of people from what can he teach us? You know, this young person, what does he know? And therefore in the context of, for the need for me to prove myself that I'm worth whatever position that I'm put in and to serve the people, So that is one big challenge that I always have, the constant need to show that I am able, that is one big thing. This discussion also around ageism, where, you go to places, you are young and people consider, do not see that you could cover such a position that you're in or such a leadership role that you may have. So sometimes people look at me and wonder how this young person could be in this role. I remember if I would share a quick story, I remember I went for a radio interview with a colleague from Amnesty. And this person is quite older than I am, in a different generation. And when we got to the radio station, immediately we got there, they were expecting the country director of Amnesty International, of course. So when we got there, immediately the producer came to my colleague and said, "Oh, welcome, Mr. Amoafo, you're welcome to the radio station. Please go this way." And my colleague was looking confused, like, "Wait, no, that is the country director."
Yes.
So
there was a presumption that your older colleague was the one.
Yes, exactly. So the idea that people who are in such positions must have some spectacles on, like I do now, some beard, some whiteness somewhere, and this is not the only story. This is just one of the many stories I've come into contacts where people assume that he can't be the one who has such a position. Of course, there's also the clash of generations, where as a leader, I need to deal with, I have a younger colleague in the office or in my workplace with an older colleague who have issues, and I have to resolve it. Now, this means that I have to have a sensitivity for both generations and both ages, to be able to resolve conflict and paying attention to the fact that age and seniority and hierarchy plays a role in this discussion, And so those have been my real challenges, and leading across generations and being the youngest, leading a team of quite more mature people than I am in age. Yes.
Nice. And so Robert, what kind of strategies did you use to navigate that? How did you manage that? What can we learn from your experience?
One for me is loads and loads of patience. Patience as a leader to understand that people have their own understanding of what must be, and therefore the need to hold on and give yourself time to be seen. Sometimes it's easy to want to push yourself down the throat of people and prove yourself by pushing your position. But it's important that you give people time to understand and adapt to the fact that they have somebody who in their culture sensitivity should not be in a particular position, but here he is, That is one thing that I kept. Another one is empathy. Empathy to just calm down and know that your time will come. The time when people would have to understand that you are the one and you are the leader will come. Also, I use being firm. Being firm in the sense that, sometimes things must move as a leader. That something must shift, and it's not time for discussion. It's not time for deliberations. It must shift. So being firm and knowing that at this time I'm being firm, but being respectful and being fair, all these things must play at the same time. Though you are being firm and telling the person, listen, this must move, how am I telling the person? In what way am I ensuring that this person is receiving this information, understanding that it is not a bad intention that is coming with being firm in that decision? And then also listening. I have a lot of time to sit with my colleagues to listen and know them, and understand them. And I think one of the key things that made me survive a lot in Amnesty was the idea that my colleagues knew that I have their back. As the leader, they knew that wherever I go, they are safe with me, and that I listen to them and I know them. And one thing is also that we sit and discuss a lot of things. So then it's not I am the leader, I have taken a decision and that's it, but also paying attention and listening, and consulting with them, making them feel part of every decision that I make. I remember one of my colleagues coming to me one day to say, one of the colleagues I had a lot of confrontation with at the beginning of my work, she didn't just get it. I come to instruct me to do the budget this way and all of that. But over time, after listening and all these processes, she said, Director, I want my children to be like you, which was interesting to know.
Nice.
So,
Thank
which
you.
is
Thank
very
you.
interesting. But
Love
also the
those.
last thing I always
Go ahead.
did was to keep myself young, not to forget that I'm young, and to not to lose my youth, and to keep it along, be happy, be cheerful, help other people, but always keep young. And that makes even some of my colleagues even feel excited, because I'll say, let's play music, let's do this, let's play games, let's jump
Love
here,
it.
then they feel alive
Love
and
it.
happy to be around that. So yes, those were my
I
strategies.
love it. You see, now you're adding that to also the Busara team. So you will see, I'm also intending, I'm like keeping myself young too. Nice. And I'm loving some of the comments in the chat. We're going to come to you folks later, because I'm hearing some really lovely strategies that some of you are using. So let me quickly turn over to Sola, and then Mira, I'll hand it back to you to engage with some of our participants. Sola, what are some of the strategies you have used?
Listening to Robert, I was mulling over that question. What he had to say was fascinating, especially his references to ageism, because I come at ageism from a different angle. I come at the angle here in the Gambia where, we are a very young population, and the general mood amongst the young is that, too many old folks around occupying senior positions, they should move on, we should be leading this country. And so that's very often something I'm struggling or dealing with. But in terms of strategy, the one thing that I think that I found most effective, or the one thing I try to do as often as possible, is to be self-aware and put myself in the shoes of those who I'm talking to, because that helps me understand who I'm dealing with and helps me become much more sensitive to their perspective. I sometimes overplay that. So for example, today as we get onto this call, I look around and I think, oh my goodness me, looks to me as if I'm the old guy in the room, as always. What can I do to kind of reach out to folks? And that often happens. I'm in a room and I'm talking and I'm thinking, boy, you're coming across as some old, serious fuddy-duddy. You need to slip in a joke here so people can connect. So these are the things. So I'm constantly trying to remind myself that, okay, wait a second, I've got people like Muriel out there. I must look like her granddad or her uncle. So let me do something to make sure that I reach out and show her that I can connect with where she's coming from. But in general, I suppose the strategy is just, always trying to remember who I am and how I look to and how I am seen by others, and putting myself in their shoes. Let me stop there.
I love that. No, I love that, because, one of the things we always preach in our leadership programs is the power of self-awareness. The awareness of, and Robert, you alluded to that as well. Sometimes the awareness to manage yourself, be patient, not have to hustle for your worthiness to prove certain things, but also to be aware in terms of how you're coming off to the other who is different from you. So thank you, Sola. And I think, Sola, you've nicely prompted us. Muriel, if it's okay, it would be great to launch our poll because, you can't see many folks.
Oh, yeah.
So we're doing a bit of a guesswork in terms of how many have. So I'm launching the poll now. Okay. So folks, if you can quickly just identify which generation you belong to so we can get a feel for what's emerging. And then I wonder how I'll share my screen. So far, I'll tell you what's emerging. We've had about 42%. So yes, can you see, can most folks see the poll?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Can you see it on my screen? You can't see the results yet, huh? But everybody able to vote so far, huh?
Yeah.
Nice to know my parents are like 3 generations before me. And like the silent generation, Jesus Christ.
Yes. I think mommy is on this call. I think my mom is on this call. I hope she's voting because she's there in the silent generation. So we have this is great. So we have what's emerging now we still have a few folks who have not done it. I'll give you 5 more seconds and then I'm going to close the poll so I can share it. Few more folks are coming in. So far, we have 41% of the folks on this call are millennials, 34% are Gen X, 22% are baby boomers, and 2% are silent generations. Sometimes Linda is saying, sometimes it feels as though we African millennials are more Gen X. Oh, interesting. We will soon, okay, I'm gonna end the poll now. I hope if there's anybody coming on, I'm ending the poll now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm ending it. Okay, share results.
Okay, so more millennials on this call.
Yeah, but
39%.
only by a slight degree.
Yeah, just slight, exactly.
Yeah, so it's quite a nice mixture of millennials, Gen X, and baby boomers. But at least we have 2 from the, the Gen Z and the silent generation. So really interesting. Thank you all for that. I wonder if someone can do a quick screen. We'll still have the results later. All right, so shall we open it up to see
Let's open the floor to the questions and to the, again, I can see amazing comments in the chat box. So let me, Madeleine is saying, as African, we are so vibrant and alive. And I think it was when Robert was mentioning making people dance and stuff. So that's fine. And Nora is saying older generation often are challenged with technology, modern ways of making life easier, then younger colleagues can provide a wealth of knowledge. So that's amazing.
I love that key strategy. Muriel, I see a hand up. I see a hand up from Belinda, and I also see Marika had a question to Sola.
Yeah.
So let's have Belinda, and then Sola, are you able to see the chat?
Yes, I did see something coming in from Marika. Yes.
Okay, so let's start with Belinda, and then we'll circle back to you, Sola, on Marika's question. Belinda, do you want to unmute and share?
Yes. Hi, everyone. This is Belinda, and I'm saying from Sola. Hi, Taaka. So good to see your face and to hear everyone's lovely voice. Yes, I like the energy in the room, and this is a very important conversation on a Friday night.
By the way.
So now, guys, we have a situation. I watched a YouTube, I think it was something on TikTok a couple of weeks ago that stated that the reason people go to work today is different from the reason they did so many years ago. Okay, so you will find, this thing of longest serving employee of the company. Someone stays at their place of work for 25 years and they're honored for loyalty. Okay, they're honored for loyalty, and it is such a good thing. And the reasoning was that generation had no option but to be loyal because they were survivors. Okay, now we have glorified long serving employees at our workplaces, and we forget that the young people entering the workplace now are not survivors anymore. Their reasons for coming to the workplace are different. They are not survivors anymore, so they will not put up with a lot of things that are not okay. So their focus is different. So I see us having a problem trying to balance with the aspect of loyalty that sometimes is rewarded with more money and perks. And then just these fleeting young people who just want to come and do what they want to do and go away. Yeah, so loyalty is not the thing anymore. That's what I see. Sorry, loyalty is not the thing anymore. It has evolved to quality of life, to thriving, to joy in the workplace. So how do we do that dance? Because like you said, we have a mixture of people in the workplace. How do you manage people who are at the workplace for survival, and these young people who are just out to have a good time and to experiment things? That's the question on my mind.
Fantastic. Nice one, Belinda. Thank you. Thank you. And maybe I will turn over to Sola to speak to Marika's question, and then I see Nora's hand is also up. Huh?
Yes, thank you. I think Marika was essentially asking, because I started off making that comment that really baby boomer is a particular concept and it might pigeonhole me into a particular profile. And it's not that I have any issue with the term baby boomer, which simply says I was born in this particular age range. I'm of this particular age range, born between these particular years. And I think that is useful information. I think I was simply trying to say that beyond that, there are so many things that kind of define my outlook, my behavior, my profile, the way I think, and the way many people like myself think. So, and I think what I was trying to say was that essentially, if you were looking to give me a tag, it would be baby boomer plus, kind of maybe West African baby boomer with kind of transatlantic experience. Like that's a very, awkward way of describing it, but I just happen to know that my outlook compared to another Gambian maybe who grew up in rural Gambia would be very different, even though we're both baby boomers. The fact that I went to school in the West, came back to Gambia, worked in different parts of Africa, means that my own outlook, mindset, profile is of a certain type that's different from a baby boomer from rural Gambia, different from a baby boomer from Africa, and so on and so forth. So I don't know if that helps, Marika. It doesn't really, I hope that clarifies what the point I was trying to make earlier.
I love the way. How would you name your generation yourself? You said baby boomer plus. I wonder if I'd call you people the post-independence or the independence generation.
Well, again, if I can just speak to that, because I think Marika also made the comment, coming from South Africa, what they have seen in terms of having been part of the liberation struggle. We also, my generation, have seen, yes, being part of the post-independence, the nationalism, the pride, the excitement, only to become significantly deflated and to realize that actually the problem wasn't, after all, white folks who were our colonizers. No, that was just part of the problem. It's just as bad as black folks who are pressing you down, and so on and so forth. And I think maybe post-independence or an independence. I'm not quite sure what I would use, but yeah, that is a significant part of, I think, who I am and how I see life, certainly in Africa these days.
Interesting, interesting. Okay, we may circle back to you in terms of you and Robert, in terms of, I don't want to lose Belinda's question, but I see Nora's hand up. Muriel, shall we go to Nora? Do you see another hand up? I think I see it's Nora.
Yeah, I just see Nora.
Okay.
So Nora, hello? I think she's still muted, maybe?
Are you going to me?
Yes, there you are, Nora.
Yes.
Okay, so it was more in response to the comment that Namutebi from Uganda actually made.
Yes.
I think in the past, a lot of people used to stay in the same jobs and work there for decades. I don't think it's so much loyalty. I think it's the way the workplace were that's where they were in that time. Nowadays, if you stay in a place for a really long time, sometimes it's perceived that you're not developing yourself and you're stagnating. So I'm actually looking at it from perspective of somebody that has, well, until recently, my whole career has been in the UK. So I've got a European perspective, but I've gone back to Uganda. But that is one thing, that if you stay in one place, you're not developing yourself or not having other experiences. So people are encouraged to move from job to job.
Nice. Yes. So it's interesting how, I think what you're bringing up, Nora, it's interesting how organizations signal what is valued and not valued. Because I have encountered organizations that, as Belinda said, have most the long-serving, and then others that are encouraged to move on. So I think I love the diversity you're bringing up. I see Dr. Awori's hand up. Thank you, Nora. Dr. Thelma, do you want to come in?
Yes, please. Thank you very much. I'm really enjoying this conversation. And Sola, it's nice to see you after so many years. This is good. I just want to say, of the two things, one of the things you asked about, you asked Sola about the challenges that we experience. Taaka, I don't know why you're choosing my generation for me. I belong to Generation Z. So, you know.
Sorry, oh, my bad. I put my mother in the wrong generation.
Anyway, I think one of my challenges is getting away from the wisdom trap and being able to step right out of it. Because, you know, I remember when we were young and, middle age, and we would be at a function and something would be going wrong, we would run to the older women to say, what do we do now? What do we do now? And they would tell us what to do. And I see people trying to do that to me now. What do? And you must know what so what's the wisdom? I step right out of it and I says, the times are different. You guys know what you're supposed to do. Get on with it and do it, So I step right out of that wisdom trap. I make sure no one puts me into it. The next thing, it was about the question of people who move around quickly, this high mobility of employees now. I think it's so important to become comfortable with the high mobility, the new high mobility way of doing things, and welcome it. So that you have somebody, and when they're there, you grab onto what you can grab onto, you quickly get used to what they have to offer and make sure you take advantage of it. And when they leave, network with them. Never let them go totally. They're gone, but they're still part of your network. And so they're still with you, more or less. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you too. So avoiding the wisdom trap and valuing those who are mobile and valuing the mobility approach to moving in the workplace. Nice. All right. Anybody else who would like to come in? Do you see any other comments there we would love to highlight? Oh yes, Lillian, I see has her hand up. Lillian, come on in. Joining us from Monrovia.
I'm joining from Monrovia, but I think, I want to sing the Gambia national anthem right now. I miss that place so much. My second favorite spot under the sun. Since Mommy has talked about the wisdom trap, I'm one of those people that's trying to avoid the energy trap. Because, you small children, y'all go ahead and do it. And, it's especially because I'm the youngest in senior levels, a lot of everywhere I go. Not necessarily all the way at the top, but just kind of in the senior level. People can tend to say, oh yeah, you're quick with the technology, you're quick with this, and you're good with words, you're good with this. Do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. And then I get so used to being somebody's daughter in the workplace And it takes a lot of time before I realize you're being used and taken advantage of by people who will never have your back. Please go back to your office and do your work and let them do theirs. Or just stand there with your hands in your pocket and talk them through whatever it is on the computer or whatever else that they want to do, that they need to do. And be like, all right, well, call me if you have, other questions. I have an appointment, even if that appointment is with myself and a cup of coffee.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So beware of these stereotypes and presumptions of different generations in terms of energy, wisdom, IT. I love that. Thank you, Lillian. I see Jillian's hand is up. Thanks, Lillian.
Hi, Taaka. How are you?
Oh, fantastic. Lovely to have you as always, Jillian.
Thank you. So I joined a little bit late, so if I say something that's already been said, forgive me. But when it comes to the whole generational conversation, the area that I struggle with is the younger people. We spend a lot of time talking about, the millennials. They are very technology focused and they're free spirited and all of these things. And somehow in the midst of that, we seem to lose that discipline that is required, and I think one of the things that I struggle with is it's good. They're quick to learn. They're happy to try new things, but there's a lack of discipline to learn, to be patient and take your time to build. So with the same energy and speed that they approach projects, it's the same energy and speed they want to achieve success without putting in the time and the work. And so there's that disconnect in many companies because you want the benefit of the young people. You want their minds that are creative and everything, but they're not putting in the necessary work to build it so that it actually creates lasting value for the firms. So you'll find that turnover is quicker because they're more impatient, not only because they're free-spirited, but they're impatient. They want success. They want it quick. They want it now without putting in the work. And so my fear is that in a few years, when they get to 40s, 50s, we will lose some of that rigor that the older generation has spent time building, that even allows them to keep consulting even past retirement. There's something we're missing in this whole conversation where if they don't develop a certain discipline, we will lose. We may not see it now, but somewhere a gap will begin to come because certain things weren't honed. So I just feel that in all of this, when we're managing generations up and down, we always need to keep our eyes on what is required to help build firms and organizations. Not everybody will be a Mark Zuckerberg, but they all think like it and they all want that experience. And so we just need to try and find a way to manage that within this generational context. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Jillian. Really interesting. Thank you. I see Flavia's hand up as well. Flavia?
Hey, how are you?
Oh, so nice to see you. We've missed you. Welcome. Joining us from, are you in Brussels?
No. I'm back in Nairobi, thankfully.
Oh,
yeah,
sawa.
yeah. Thank you so much. Sorry, my camera is not on. I'm lying flat on the sofa, catching my breath. Yeah, it's been a long week.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is a very interesting conversation, honestly, and for me, who would identify as a feminist, someone who's been in the women's rights space for so long, I think this is such a critical conversation, especially the aspect of being intersectional about our analysis of how we navigate the age dynamic, because I think the gender one and other perspectives also come into play, and not just, I don't think age is it's just one of the factors, it's one of the lenses, and it just intersects with others, including disability, including gender, including socioeconomic status, including sexual orientation. So there's so many interplaying factors. But my experience has been in that, especially from the women's rights space, is that sometimes we end up replicating the same exclusion that we experience in other areas. For example, as women, the same exclusion that we face as women and girls, we end up somehow replicating it in spaces where gender is the determining factor. And I'll just give an example. In many women's rights spaces that I've been part of, especially as a young activist, you find that you really have to jostle for space with the older women, especially. There's a lot of exclusion, and our agency is somehow minimized because you're a young girl. So it's a question around, getting from your older sisters, your people who consider your aunties, and even your older feminist sisters saying, what are you wearing? Why are you doing this? Because our perspective of life is different by virtue of age, but we are all in the same struggle for women's rights. But within that space, we also find a way of excluding and discriminating against each other. And that's been a big challenge, especially in the intergenerational activism, where a same space is bringing women, for example, but those women are of different ages, including young girls and much older women. So you'll hear things like, we were in the struggle. We struggled for this. So yes, you struggled for this, but are you willing and able to cede space to the younger ones who are now here with you? Are you able to hold their hands? Are you able to mentor? So there's just that tension that comes in with that space around age, but from a gender perspective. And then where the young ones are involved, it's more almost tokenistic sometimes. You plant young people here and there just for the optics, but it's not really a meaningful participation. So can we also learn to see young people as people who have agency and have something to contribute and maybe seed space? So thank you for all that you've done. Thank you for the fantastic things you've done. But here, I'm passing the baton to you in a meaningful manner and not just tokenistic and planting young people in different spaces. So young people begin to resent that kind of a tokenistic approach and want to really have the space meaningfully. So you find that there's that tension within the same gender, but one of age, replicating systems and structures of exclusion that you experience in other spaces, especially where you're dealing with men and things like that. So it's a very interesting dynamic, this conversation around ageism. Just to say that I think it's important to bring in all the lenses, just be truly intersectional in it. Yeah, thank you.
I love that. Thank you, Flavia. Much appreciated. I'm aware of time and, would love to continue this conversation for a while. So Muriel, do you think we can ask our guests to see if they have any final words? And then we see if we can call it a wrap. We have to honor the time of those of you in East Africa who it's already going into your serious happy hour time for drinks. So... So I wonder if I can, shall we invite them for a final word?
Yeah, anyone has a final comment? Because we've had amazing comments in the chat. So I've been reading the comments. They're like literally, if anyone wants to come on and then say a final word.
Or maybe from our guests then as they wrap up.
Actually, yes.
Yeah. So Robert, can we start with you? Any final thoughts as we call it a wrap?
Thank you very much. Yes, for me, I think it's been a great learning experience. I hear the conversation around discipline and the idea that we need to build strong. And for me, I think it's good to hear and learn and move on into the same space of my peers and see how, I'm sure when people hear from their own peers, it becomes easier for them to relate and also understand. So for me, it's been a great learning experience, leading across generations and especially leading older people than myself, and great experience learning from everybody from here. Thank you so much. It was a great opportunity.
Thank you, Robert. Shola, any final thoughts?
Look, quite apart from just, again, echoing Robert's thoughts and thanking everybody for such a wonderful conversation. And for me, I have to say that quite apart from talking about intergenerational leadership, I think for me, what I find so valuable is just the intergenerational conversation. And I find that I find myself sort of gravitating to people of different age groups, because I think that grounds me better. I think I need to have younger people around me because there is a chance that I'll end up being a fuddy-duddy unless I have some youngsters around with the exuberance, the excitement, the impatience that comes with youth that keeps you on your toes. And I think that somehow that melting pot approach is really what works for us all. I think the youth in their impatience can also use with a little bit of the fuddy-duddy Sola Mahoney there saying, like that, slow down. And I think that's how we will somehow get to a golden mean, a very wonderful medium between as a society. But I'll just leave it at that and say thank you very much to everybody who joined. Really enjoyed your comments.
Oh, thank you both so much. If I may sum up some of the things I have taken away from listening to both of you and the conversation, there's clearly something around, and I'm going to pick up Flavia's point about paying attention as we start to talk about leading across generations, not forgetting about the intersectionality of identities. So it's never just about age. As much as we've lifted up age, it's about age, gender, sexuality, socioeconomic position. It's all of those things, and it's paying attention to how they work together. I'm taking away, I think, just from what Sola said, the importance of learning to see diversity as a good thing. I think as Africans, sometimes we're pulled so much in trying to fit in and everyone's deep sense of belonging and you all have to be the same. But it's seeing difference not as something just to be managed, but difference as something to be leveraged and celebrated. So Shola's point about having these types of conversations, these intergenerational conversations stays with me. Another big thing I'm taking away from this in terms of leading across generations is the importance of self-awareness. I think both Robert and Sola alluded to this and even, I always want to say Mummy. My mom alluded to it when she was talking about not falling into the trap, the wisdom trap, where you want to grab power, instead ceding power and saying, you guys have got this, letting the younger ones figure it out, recognizing it's new times. Or in Robert's case, when he talks about, I don't have to constantly hustle to prove my worthiness. So that self-awareness becomes so critical in terms of leading across generations. I think from the chat, I got this whole thing about learning from each other. So creating opportunities to learn from the different generations. So examples of reverse mentoring, I think that becomes also key. But ultimately, I think this is about creating an inclusive culture where everyone feels valued and supporting people to pay particular attention not to fall into the stereotypes. I think Lillian, you brought that up quite, oh, young people, they're good at tech. Or older people, they're the wisdom ones. So it's really leaning into and working with each other as individuals, unique individuals, without putting each other into a box. But let me stop there. There's so much we could say. I think this has been a fantastic session. As we end, there are a few announcements that we would love to make, very important announcements, two major ones we would like to make. The first one, and now y'all have to do a dance when we do this, is our online courses are finally ready. Whoop, 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 whoop. It's taken us a long time to do it. And a special thanks to Apolline, who really talk about taking leadership and just saying, ha, let me run with it. So watch this space. We have 4 that are ready: managing competing priorities, fighting your imposter syndrome, mastering emotions, and strengthening your work ethic and commitment. If you look in the chat, we're about to put the link in the chat so you can go straight to the online courses and sign up right away. So that is the good news we're so excited about. The second is we're about to close. Remember last time we announced we are having the mentoring program, the Young Women's Mentoring Program for West Africa. East Africa, I'm coming. Oh, don't be impatient. We are coming. But this is the one for West Africa. We're about to close applications. So please, 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 if you know some dynamic young women leaders, women under 40, currently occupying a leadership role based in West Africa, able to pass on the mentoring to each other and would like to have some one-on-one, not one-on-one, team coaching, team mentoring with me, please encourage them to apply. Again, Lydia just put the link in the chat, but it's also on our website. So do recommend some young women to apply for that. And that's it from us. Thank you all so much. You've been amazing. Muriel, shall we call it a wrap? Where's my Muriel, my co-facilitator?
It's been an amazing session. I love it. I love it. And I hope everyone just, and the comments were amazing. Everyone was taking something away, and this is amazing. I mean, I as usual, the leadership happy hour is super interesting like that. So next time, don't forget to bring a friend or a colleague if this was your first time with us. So don't forget to bring a friend and a colleague. Don't forget to check out the courses. Don't forget to tell someone about the mentoring program. We're excited about it. And our next leadership happy hour is going to be on the 27th of May, 4 p.m. same time. So looking forward to seeing you all and have a happy weekend. We're going to have a long weekend actually in Accra, right?
Oh, yes.
We have Monday, Tuesday off. I'm so excited. I'm going to sleep. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone.
Thank you all. Thank you, Robert.
Don't forget the picture.
Yes, sorry, folks. Quick thing we normally do. If we would do a quick photo, Apolline, if you can take the spotlight off Muriel. Folks, if you can turn on your camera, give us your beautiful Friday evening smile. And then tell us when, who's taking the photo? Tell us when to smile.
Everybody say fuddy duddy.
Fuddy duddy. All right, brilliant.
Well,
thank you all.
everyone.
Have a great evening. See you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Very good.